Min was a senior student majoring in civil construction. Originally from Kon Tum, he was gentle, quiet, honest, and had never been involved in anything superstitious or spiritual. But after an internship in a remote area of Dak Ha commune, something in him changed silently, like a small flame buried under a thin layer of ash, just waiting for the wind. At that time, Min was assigned as a technical supervisor for a school construction project in the commune. The group of students split up to stay at local houses. Min stayed in a stilt house owned by an old Bana woman named Ya Kren. The villagers called her Old Kren. Though nearly 90, she was still surprisingly sharp, quick-handed, especially her eyes, sharp like a wildcat's, as if they could see through someone's soul. One evening, Min was sitting on the porch reading a blueprint when he saw a strange girl walking across the yard. She wore a red brocade shirt, had long hair, sharp eyes, tan skin, and a black thread bracelet on her wrist. Old Kren, sitting nearby, softly said, "Her name is Mi Heelin. Orphaned since young, lives alone in a hut on the hill. A forest girl, but not just anyone can approach her. You hear, child?" Min nodded, just gave a polite smile. But from that day on, every twilight, Mi Heelin would pass by the yard, looking at Min with eyes both strange and deep, as if something inside them was calling him. On the third night, Min was half asleep when he heard someone whisper close to his ear. "Min, brother Min?" He opened his eyes. No one was there. The wind rustled through the forest, and the whisper came again. "Don't go, stay here with me." Min sat up, heart pounding. Outside, only darkness, but on the floor right in front of his mosquito net, there was a bundle of leaves wrapped in red cloth, tied with black thread. Min brought it to Old Kren. She looked closely, then whispered, "Exa rung leaves. Wrap like that, it's a love-calling charm. Whoever puts it under your net wants to keep your soul here." Min choked. "What? Who put it in my net?" She said nothing, just lowered her head and softly murmured like a lullaby. "Someone loves you, Min, but the way forest folks love, it's love to the death." Since that night, Min kept dreaming of Mi Heelin. In the dreams, she wore a red wedding dress, standing in the misty forest. Her lips said nothing, only stretched out her hand, waiting. In real life, Min started falling ill, constantly tired, lost appetite, and woke every night at exactly 1 a.m., always hearing footsteps circling the house. Sometimes, he started losing bits of memory, waking up one morning to find himself at the forest edge, feet muddy, not knowing when he had walked there. On the 7th night, Min jolted awake in panic. On his arm were claw marks, 5 deep scratches. Bleeding, he looked around, and saw Mi Heelin, standing under the mango tree in the yard, staring up at his bed, hair hanging loose, eyes unblinking. The next morning, Min asked for 2 days off, saying he felt unwell and needed to go to town. Old Kren didn't stop him, only slowly nodded. "You go, but don't take anything from this house. Not even drinking water or clothes." Min was puzzled but obeyed. He changed into new clothes and hurriedly rode his motorbike out of the village. Not even 5 kilometers out, it started raining, heavy, pounding rain. The red dirt road was slippery, the bike unsteady. Min pulled into the porch of an old, abandoned tea shop. He parked, and just as he sat down on the stone bench, a soft voice called behind him, "Min, it's Mi Heelin." He spun around, startled. No one, only the cold wind slapping his face, blowing in from the forest. He shivered, his limbs icy cold. Just then, an old man wearing a cloth hat walked by, holding a torch made of dry leaves. He looked at Min, suddenly stopped, then stepped back 2 paces, his eyes fixed on Min's wrist. He said softly, "Someone's cursed you." Min trembled. What did you say?" The old man came closer, grabbed Min's hand to check. On Min's wrist, a black thread, thin as hair, twisted into a loop. Min had no idea who tied it or when. The old man frowned. "This is a soul-binding thread, but reversed. It doesn't ward off spirits, it keeps your soul for someone else." Min stammered. Who did this?" The man only asked, "Did you eat anything someone gave you?" Min shook his head. Did you drink water? Or maybe lick blood? Or touch something bloody? Min shuddered, recalling the fourth night at Old Kren's, when he accidentally licked his bleeding finger after cutting a bamboo stalk, and Mi Heelan had stood watching. Eyes unblinking, Min slumped down, head spinning. How do I break this? I don't want to be involved with her anymore. The old man's face turned serious. Breaking it isn't easy. It's not a charm from regular folks. It's a living soul-calling charm. It doesn't bind your steps. It binds your wandering soul. Every night, little by little, it's pulling your soul out, until one night you follow the call and never return. Min gasped. So what do I do now? The old man took a dried root tied with red thread from his bag and pressed it into Min's hand. This is mountain spirit root. Tonight, burn it under your bed before sleep. If your soul hasn't been taken completely, it'll hold it back, but only once. And after that, if you're still alive, you must go back and find the one who cursed you, and beg them to release you. No one else can break it. If they truly love you, they'll let you go. Min clutched the root tightly and nodded. That night, he burned the root under his bed. The smell was like burning hair. Thick blue smoke rose in swirls. Exactly at 1 a.m., the window swung open. Cold wind rushed in. The curtains flapped as if someone had passed through. Min lay still, not daring to move. Footsteps crunched on the porch. Then a cold hand pressed on his chest and tightened. Brother Min, please don't go anymore. Stay with me. He bit his lip until it bled. Eyes shut tight. From under the bed, the smoke grew stronger, and someone hissed angrily. Who broke my soul bond? Who dared to take him from me? The wind stopped. The next morning, Min woke up. He was still alive, but on the wall, there was a line written in blood. You must come back. If not, I will come. At dawn, Min quietly returned to the village. Despite the old man's warning, he knew only one person could break the charm, Mi Heelan. If he couldn't find her, or if she refused, then the end was near. Old Kren saw Min return but stayed calm. She sat chewing betel under the porch, rolling herbs in her hand. You remember what I told you? Min bowed his head. I do. Don't bring anything, but I must meet Mi Heelan. Please. She didn't answer, just glanced toward the forest and softly said, She's not in the village. She's at Ma Phượng Hill, the place her mother once hanged herself. If you want to find her, take that path. Min shivered, but nodded. That noon, Min packed rice and a bottle of water, then followed the red dirt path up the northern hill. The air was stifling. Clouds darkened from the deep forest. Just past a steep rock ledge, he smelled herbs faintly, a scent sharp like beeswax mixed with dried blood. Then from afar, he saw a small hut made of bamboo and palm leaves. Low and dark like an owl's nest, Mi Heelan sat with her back turned, hair flowing down near the ground, scattering leaves around a clay jar. Min stepped closer, hesitantly called, Mi Heelan. She turned around. Her eyes were deep black, cold like forest water, no longer shy like days before, but calm, as if she had foreseen everything. Mi Heelan spoke, her voice hoarse like echoing from a cave. Why did you come here? Min clenched his fists. You cast a charm on me. It was you, right? She said nothing. Min continued, voice shaking. You knew I was tired, that my soul was being pulled each night. You knew. Why did you do this? Mi Heelan looked up, eyes locked on Min's, softly said, I just wanted you to stay. But you know this isn't right. Min burst out, if you love someone, let them come willingly. Doing this isn't love anymore. Mi Heelan slowly walked closer. Her hand touched Min's neck, gently but cold. You're right, but you know what? We forest people, we don't know how to love like city folks. No texting, no dating. There's only one way to keep them, even if it means keeping their soul. Min stepped back. Undo it. Let me go. I beg you. She shook her head. No one can undo it unless I want to forget you. Min's voice cracked. Then, how can I make you forget? Mi Heelan stepped in, wrapped her arms around Min. The scent of herbs filled the air. There's one way, she whispered. You must forget me first. When you truly forget, my heart will die on its own. the charm will vanish. Min trembled. I don't know how. I just want a normal life. She released him, took a brown charm paper from her pocket, and pressed it into Min's hand. This is a forget-me spell. Burn it, and for the next 3 days, if you don't dream of me, don't hear my name, I'll know you no longer need me. Then, I'll disappear. She turned away. Min held the charm, eyes filled with tears. What about you? Her voice echoed back. I'll be fine, it's just, I'll forget someone who once wanted to leave. That night, Min returned, burned the charm by the fire. Pale purple smoke rose, with a strange sweet scent. The first night, he slept deeply, dreamless. The second night, the same. But the third night, just as Min lay down, the window opened again. Bare footsteps pressed into the ground, slowly coming closer. A familiar whisper came. Please don't forget me, okay? Min jolted upright, eyes wide open, heart pounding hard. He turned to the window, nothing. No one there, but the scent of herbs still lingered, sweet like wildflowers, mixed with a salty hint of tears. Min stepped shakily out to the porch. It was drizzling. The wind blew in from the forest. Freezing cold. Old Kren's voice came from behind, quiet but sharp as a thin blade. She doesn't want to leave. Her forgetting charm wasn't strong enough. Because deep inside, you still remember. Min turned around. She sat by the fire, eyes not on him, but staring deep into the glowing embers. You knew all along? I used to be like her. Younger, fiercer. But I learned, holding someone isn't as good as letting them come back on their own. She looked up. Now it's time you choose. Either return to your old life, or go with her. Min choked. What if I don't choose? Not choosing means your heart is unclear. And unclear means your soul is pulled, bit by bit, until one day you wake up, and you're already beyond the boundary. 3 days later, Min left the village and returned to the city. He tried to live normally. Threw himself into work, laughed with friends, went out for coffee, but deep down, he knew he couldn't forget Ma Phượng. At night, he saw her in his dreams. Each time clearer, each time closer. One day, Min was sent to help supervise a small renovation on the city's outskirts. It was an old temple being restored, surrounded by a wild cashew garden. Oddly, as he approached the site, he felt a sharp pain, especially at his wrist, where the black thread had once been tied. He turned to the head monk and asked, "Master, are you chanting any mantras?" The monk nodded, speaking gently. "Yes, today is the day to release wandering spirits. Those who cling to the living also feel it." Min bowed his head, not daring to ask more. But from that night on, he began to cough a lot, especially after dark. Each time, he spat out something dark like burnt hair. Terrified, Min went back to the old man who had once given him the root. After hearing the story, the old man only looked at Min and shook his head. "You already made your choice. You say with your mouth that you let go, but in your heart, you're still holding on." She knows. Now, there's only one way. Go back to the place where your soul was bound. Face her, and make the final decision. Min asked, "How will I know where the binding happened?" The old man pulled a cloth pouch from his coat and pressed it into Min's hand. Inside were 2 tiny reddish-brown stones, one light, one dark. "Tonight, when the wind blows from the forest, drop the light one to the ground. It will point to where your soul is being held." Min nodded silently. That night, close to midnight, he sat alone in his room, holding the stone tightly. The wind blew through the window, bringing back the familiar scent of herbs. Min let go. The stone rolled once, then stopped, pointing straight northwest. He put on his jacket, grabbed his motorbike, and drove. The night road was empty. On both sides, eucalyptus trees whispered, headlights flashing past trunks, shadows stretching long like they were reaching out. Finally, he stopped. Ahead was a narrow dirt path leading to Ma Phượng Forest, the place he first met Ma Phượng. Min walked. His feet sank in mud, and his ears caught the wind whistling between the old trees. And then, he saw her. Ma Phượng stood on a stone in the forest, hair flowing gently, her brocade dress soaked with rain, clinging to her body. At her feet was an old ceramic bowl, Inside it a bundle of hair and a white shirt, Min's shirt from the first day in the village. She looked at Min, eyes unblinking. You came? Min swallowed. What are you doing? Burning the last thread, to keep you. Min stepped forward. You know, I don't belong here. Ma Phượng smiled, a smile both sad and childlike. I know, but you once looked at me. Once smiled at me. Once drank water I poured. Once called my name. Once is enough. Min whispered. You could love someone else, why me? She shook her head. No, I only know how to love one person. I never learned how to let go. Min reached out. Let go. Set me free. I beg you. Ma Phượng said nothing. She lifted the ceramic bowl and smashed it against the stone. Shards flew, the shirt torn to pieces. Smoke rose faintly from the hair. For a moment, the wind stopped. Then, she vanished. No goodbye. No tears. Only a black thread bracelet left hanging on a dry branch. Min stood frozen in the forest, eyes still on that branch, where the thread swung gently as if no one had ever tied it. The wind blew softly. No more herb scent. No more voices calling from the dark. Min took out his phone. Tried to take a picture, but the screen was pitch black. Not even one bar of signal. As if the whole forest had sealed itself from the world. As if this moment in time had been locked away. He turned and walked out of the woods. His heart pounding, not from fear, but from hollowness, a nameless loss, like a ripped page from memory. Yet blood still seeped from the tear. Near dawn, Min returned to his rental room, collapsed onto the bed. No dreams, no nightmares, only a long silence, rocking him gently toward forgetting. Next morning, as he woke, he looked around and suddenly realized he could no longer clearly remember Ma Phượng face. He took out the notebook where he'd once scribbled her name, flipped through it, only to find faint, meaningless strokes, as if everything that happened had slowly faded from his life. Just like she once said, "You forget me first, I'll let go." A month later, Min returned to his old life. He moved back to Saigon, resumed his design job, though he still sometimes dreamed of the forest. The dreams were now only rustling trees. No one waited beneath the tongue tree anymore. He started seeing a new girl. Nok, his coworker. Small figure, soft voice. She often smiled and asked Min about his old trips. And Min only shook his head. I forget easily, don't remember much about the Central Highlands. Nok smiled. That's good. Those who dwell on the past often carry sorrow. Until one day, when Min and Nok moved into their new apartment, a small room on the third floor, with a balcony overlooking the park. Everything seemed fine, until Min walked into the bedroom and saw a very thin black thread tied around the leg of the bed. He froze. Nok, did you tie this here? Nok walked in from the kitchen, glanced at the thread, frowned. No, why? What is it? Min didn't answer. He bent down, removed the thread, and quickly hid it in his palm. That night, he lay on his side, holding Nok in his arms. And, exactly at 2 a.m., the window gently creaked. Cool air drifted in. Min suddenly heard someone whisper behind his neck. You forgot me, but I haven't forgotten you. He jolted upright. No one was there. Nok was still sleeping soundly beside him. Min pulled his hand out, looked at his palm. The mark from the thread was still there. The story seemed to have ended. But Min knew, for some, when they loved too deeply, letting go is just a formality. Some feelings, once they stir the heart, are almost impossible to break. And some fates are bound not by heaven's will, but by a silent black thread in the forest. The next morning, Min got up early, stood alone on the balcony watching the Saigon streets wake up. Motorbikes honked. The distant cry of bread sellers echoed. Everything was familiar, yet deep in his chest was a stone, small but unmoving. Nok stepped behind him, smiled softly. You're up early. Had a dream? Min shook his head. No, just felt a chill. Nok wrapped her arms around his back, leaned her head on his shoulder. There's no forest here to be cold. Having me is warm enough. Min chuckled faintly, but right then, he glanced at his right palm. Where the black thread had once pressed, now a faint red line appeared. Like a dry cut, he froze. His hand trembled slightly. He clenched his fist so Nok wouldn't notice. Later that day, Min went to the hospital, claiming a skin allergy. The dermatologist glanced at the mark and said it was likely from stress or lack of sleep. Not a cut, just a strange skin reaction. Min nodded, left the hospital. As he walked, he took out his phone and searched for old photos, ones he'd taken at Ma Phượng Forest. Oddly, every photo of Ma Phượng was gone. Only landscapes remained, and in the last photo, a blurred white figure stood among the trees. Min zoomed in. The figure wore a brocade dress. That night, Nok said she would sleep at her mother's because relatives were visiting. Min stayed alone. As soon as he turned off the light and lay down, he heard a soft tapping on the window glass. 3 knocks, then silence, then 3 more, not loud, but steady, like someone tapping to the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Min opened his eyes. The window was shut tight. He walked to it, hand shaking, peeked through the curtain. Only the shadow of swaying branches in the wind. No one. Min whispered to himself. It's not possible, you're already gone. The room's light flickered once, then steadied. He turned back to bed, pulled the blanket over his head. But just as he lay down, he heard a whisper right beside his ear. So close, warm but freezing. If you won't return to the forest, then I'll follow you. The next morning, Min woke in a pool of cold sweat. In the mirror, his eyes were sunken, lips dry, skin pale. Around his neck, where the thread had once tied, now showed a clear black rain. Though he hadn't touched that thread again, he picked up his phone, quickly messaged the old man from the Central Highlands, the one who gave him the stone. Sir, I dreamed of her again, but I won't return to the forest. What should I do now? Over an hour later came the reply. She's not calling you back, she's already left the forest. Now you only have 2 choices. Live with her, or return to the place where your heart first remembered her, and relight the final flame. Min collapsed to the floor. His heart pounded. He remembered. The first place was the tea house near the forest edge, where she brought him water on his first day in the village. It was her eyes, her smile, that first stirred his heart. That place might also be where it all ends. That night, Min booked a bus ticket back to the Central Highlands. The ceiling fan's breeze brushed his neck. But this time, he didn't feel cold, only a clear feeling, like heading toward an ending neither of them dared to name. The sleeper bus left Saigon at midnight, crossing passes, plantations, then winding along dirt roads into the old village. Scenery blurred behind misted windows, as if space itself was guiding the way. The bus stopped close to 3 a.m. The final station was a small crossroad. Across the road was the forest edge, faintly lit by moonlight. Min stepped down, took a deep breath. The air smelled the same, damp grass, cold earth, and, somewhere, the faint scent of dried herbs. The old tea house was still there, the thatched roof covered in moss, wooden tables scattered around, the old woman now older, but her eyes still sharp. When she saw Min, she squinted. You've come back, haven't you? Min nodded slightly. Yes, may I sit a while? She poured water, set it down. She hasn't let you go yet? Min looked up, eyes full of doubt. You mean, Ma Phượng? The old woman nodded, her voice barely a breath. Yes, that name, no one's dared speak it for years. But that girl, when she loves, it's to the bone. Min clenched the glass tightly. If now, I have nothing left to hold on to, would she be willing to leave? She looked straight into his eyes. A bond with someone from the other realm isn't broken by words. You must burn a fire at the beginning, to erase the vow. Min asked softly. Burn what? Burn blood, burn hair, burn the heart. That afternoon, Min returned alone to Ma Phượng Forest, bringing a small bundle of hair he had cut that morning, and a piece of paper with his name, just as the old woman instructed. At the exact spot with the old stone, he lit a fire. The flame rose in a strange blue color. For a moment, Min saw a girl's figure appear behind the trees, still that brocade dress. Still those deep eyes from the first time they met. She said nothing, just stood and watched. Min's voice choked. Healin, if not in this life, then in the next, please forget me. Can you? Her lips moved, but her voice was like the wind, filled with emotion, yet not forming words. The fire went out. She vanished. On the ground, ashes scattered, but on the rock, one last black thread remained, half burned, like it didn't have the strength to leave. Min bent down to pick it up, but a voice called from behind. Min. He turned around. It was Nok. She stood at the edge of the forest, panicked. You, how did you know I was here? Nok ran toward him, voice trembling. I came home, saw your phone on the table. The screen showed a strange photo. It was this place, and underneath it said, "It ends here." I was so scared. Min gently squeezed her hand. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to be involved in this. Nok breathed hard. I don't care who you once loved. I just fear you won't come back. Min looked at her, then quietly held her hand. Let's leave this place, okay? Nok nodded, but just a few steps forward. A long gust of wind howled through the forest. Leaves fell like rain. On the highest branch, a white figure stood still, hair flowing in the wind, face unseen. Nok trembled. What kind of wind is that? Min turned, bowing his head slightly. If you still remember me, then let me go, and let the one beside me go too. No voice replied. Only a black thread fell at Min's feet, twisted into a circle, then dissolved like smoke. The two left the forest. This time, no one called after them again. But inside Min, there remained a nameless emptiness. Nok hugged him tightly. You have me now. Please don't go back there again, okay? Min softly whispered. Yeah, just that. Sometimes, I still hear someone's footsteps behind me at midnight. Nok held him tighter. I'll walk beside you, enough so you won't hear anything else. After returning from Ma Phượng Forest, Min became quieter. He took a few weeks off work, cut contact with clients, friends. Only Nok knew the real reason. Every morning, Min sat silently by the window, eyes staring at the building across. Sometimes he didn't speak for hours, as if searching for something nameless. One day, Nok sat beside him, gently asked, You still think about her a lot? Min turned, eyes dimmed. It's not about missing, it's this feeling, like something hasn't truly left. Nok gently held his hand. I know, but I'm here to remind you that the present is still whole. Min nodded, but his heart still felt like something was pulling it back, somewhere deep in the forest. That night, after more than half a month of peace, Min dreamed. In the dream, he stood in the middle of the forest, in front of a small stone altar. On top was an old brocade cloth, yellowed with time. On the cloth was painted a red flower, the same kind Ma Phượng once picked. A girl stood in front of the altar, her back facing him. Min called out, Phượng. She didn't turn, only raised her hand, and drew a long black thread across her neck. Then let it fall. The thread dropped, smoke rising, the smell burnt and bitter. Wind echoed across the woods. I've let go, but who will lift the curse? Min woke up with a jolt, his body soaked in sweat, heart pounding like drums. He turned on the light. Everything looked the same. Outside the balcony came a faint tapping sound, like fingernails against metal. The next morning, Min contacted the old tea house lady from the highlands, this time by phone. She asked directly, She hasn't let go? Min replied, voice hoarse. I think she has, but something else seems to be holding on. She sighed. That's right. It's not her holding on, it's the vow in the forest that hasn't been broken. Someone must undo it, only then will it truly end. Min grew quiet. Who? It's you. The love started with you. The fate moved because of you, so you must light the final fire. At the only place she ever cried for you. Min froze. Then he murmured, the Kơ Rơn stream. Kơ Rơn stream was where Ma Phượng first told Min about her parents' death when she was little. Where she sat singing softly, leaning against an old tree, letting petals fall into the water. Min remembered that day she cried. Very quietly, but real. If that place was the beginning of everything, then maybe it could also be the end. That evening, Min returned to the central highlands. This time, he didn't tell Nok. He went alone, carrying 3 things: his own hair, a handful of earth from the altar, and the half-burned black thread bracelet. Night fell. The air grew colder. The sound of Kơ Rơn stream blended with wind slipping through rocks. Minh sat in the exact spot as before. He burned the hair, spread the earth around, then placed the bracelet on his left wrist, whispering, "You once said, if I forget you first, you would let go. Now, I remember again, so if you're still here, please leave. Because I'm still alive." Silence stretched along. Then, there were soft footsteps on dry leaves. Ma Phượng appeared, not clear if real or imagined. Hair loose, eyes sad, wearing that old dress, but her skin was pale like early morning mist. She bent down, placed a hand on Min's chest, said nothing, only whispered through her eyes. The wind suddenly grew strong. The black bracelet on Min's wrist burst into bright flame, then disintegrated, like ash swept into the night. Heelin smiled, very gently, then faded into the white fog, leaving no footprints. Minh sat there for a long time. Then he stood up, turned away from the stream. No one saw him off. No one followed behind anymore. Only a warm memory in his heart, and the faint scent of herbs, like smoke from a faraway dream. 1 year later, Minh and Ngoc moved to the outskirts, away from the city, a small house by the lake, with bougainvillea vines on the porch, and wind rustling the tin roof in the late afternoon, peaceful and nostalgic. Minh opened a small carpentry workshop, making wooden furniture by order. Life slowed down, fewer people, fewer sounds, fewer dreams. Ngoc was pregnant. She often lay in the hammock, hand on her belly, softly asking, "Do you think our baby will look like you or me?" Minh gently stroked her hair. "I hope she'll love as deeply as you, but stay calm like me." Ngoc smiled, eyes drifting shut. Minh looked toward the wooden wall where a piece of old brocade cloth hung, the only thing he kept from his last return from the forest. One night, heavy rain poured, wind howled outside the porch. The light flickered inside the house. Ngoc slept soundly. Minh stayed up, quietly wiping the half-finished wood planks. Rain drummed on the roof. But amid the rain, Minh clearly heard 3 knocks on the wooden door. Soft, steady. He stood up and walked out. Outside, no one, just puddles forming. He looked down, saw a small footprint clearly pressed on the step. As if someone had just stood there watching. Minh didn't panic, didn't fear. He simply whispered, "You came, didn't you?" No reply, only a cold breeze brushing his neck. Minh walked back inside. On the work table, where he'd just been wiping wood, lay a red flower, the kind from the mountains, placed right at the center. No one brought it. No one grew it here. Just one single flower. The next morning, the rain stopped. Minh woke up early and made tea. Ngoc was still sleeping. When he stepped to the table, he saw the flower from last night still there, but now wilted. The red had turned to purplish brown, like ink stains on old paper. He sat down, poured tea, and spoke softly as if in conversation. "You can go now. This place, someone else will keep warm for me." No wind, no reply, only an unusual stillness, as if everything had been wrapped up, tucked deep into the ancient roots of the forest. Ngoc woke up later, came out and sat with her husband, asking quietly, "Did it rain last night?" Minh nodded. "Yes, but nothing got wet. Maybe because our roof is strong now." Ngoc smiled at him. "I dreamed about the baby. It's a girl." Minh smiled too. "Then we'd better pick a name soon." Ngoc asked, "What name do you like?" Minh looked out to the garden, voice deepening. "How about Heelin? What do you think?" Ngoc paused a moment, then gently nodded. That name sounds soft and deep." On the windowsill, the brocade cloth fluttered slightly in the wind, like a final farewell. No one turned back, but somewhere in the deep forest, a faint lullaby hummed, blending with the sound of falling leaves.